We've returned from the battlefield with a great prize. Lagavulin 9. The Lannister! Brought him back to the Northlands. Time to sample what the Lannister has to offer. Hear me roar! Ha! Hear me roar!
Well, welcome to the wee Dram. This evening we have the Lagavulin 9 Game of Thrones Lannister edition. Very exciting, very exciting. And it matches the excitement that we have for the upcoming Season 8 opener of Game of Thrones that we've been waiting a long, patient time for. And it's fun to celebrate the new season with a whiskey that was designed specifically for Game of Thrones. So, what the heck? Quite plain, a little bit of gold, a lion with his claw aggressively placed on the front, hear me roar, you know, Lannister, yay yay. And there's lots to talk about in terms of whether or not they picked perfectly. They do tell us which of the houses and which of the whiskies work together in Westeros and the Seven Kingdoms. So a little bit of the Scottish map, you know, maybe blended into the Game of Thrones map. And a story of who the Lannisters are, being organized, rich, powerful, and just dominant is kind of what this whiskey, I think, is supposed to be all about in terms of the power of Lagavulin coming together with the power of the Lannisters from the stories. So why don't we pull off the black top, Game of Thrones, HBO, very, very corporate. We get that off there and bring the bottle forth. So you expect to see a Lagavulin in a smoked green bottle. And here we have a clear, plain looking black top. We do have 46% alcohol by volume. Very encouraging. Let's take the crown. Very apt when talking Game of Thrones, huh? Lifting, removing, nothing there. Little weak, little weak. That is poetry in motion. Not a tremendously oily whiskey from what we can see right away. Moving quite quickly, a little bit of quicksilver in there. Right away catching smoke. A nice inviting Lagavulin smoke. Difficult to say if it's as strong as the 16 in terms of having that wonderful nose, but certainly nice and definitely conjures up some comparisons to what the nose of the 16 has to offer. The more deeply I get into the nosing, the more I go beyond the wood and get into a little vanilla citrus. Like the longer you're with it, the more it goes away from the smoke. Yeah, quite a bit of vanilla. Custard, not much, like less citrus than I said earlier. That's kind of gone now. Yeah, it's like you're through the smoke and into almost a tapioca pudding. Tonight the 9 for the first time. Game of Thrones, HBO, Diageo, wee Dram. This is a really, really nice whiskey. There's so much going on that it's very challenging to try to bring this to some summation. There's a lot of energy. It's a very dynamic whiskey. It is extremely aggressive, powerful, but yet tasty, and it doesn't disappoint and almost holds, I want to say, like a chocolate pudding in the middle where it changes its flavor entirely and it goes somewhere. And then on the edges of that, it's hot, powerful, smoky, fiery on the finish, high intensity, and then yet somewhere in there you just want to have another sip. The characteristics of the whiskey work in an order. It's totally happening in different moments, in conjunction. And that to me is a mark of a quality whiskey. The Lagavulin 9 is really happening for me this evening. Like it breaks down and becomes its own fiery component of some of the best characteristics of the 16 without being anything like that. So this is a whiskey that is more expensive than Lagavulin 16. So right away I have a little bit of concern. Would I straight up pay less for the Lagavulin 16? You know, probably every time. As exciting as this is, it can't stand up to the value of the 16. But to spend $144 plus taxes on a 9-year-old expression seems kind of crazy. It also seems kind of crazy to get all caught up in the HBO Game of Thrones corporate deal, but nonetheless, we had to give it a go, and I'm certainly not disappointed. So sometimes you have to go in that direction. Just enjoy the whiskeys that are out there and try to tie into the narrative and add something to it. Know what I'm saying? We Dram.
We return. We return. Such an unfortunate opening of the door. Should we do it again?
Yeah.
Take